Welcome everyone to the Dr. Abs Healthcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brian Abasolo, aka Dr. Abs. And on today's show, I am really excited about our guest. It is none other than Emmanuel Acho, who is a Fox Sports analyst and host and producer of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, a web series about racism to drive open, uncomfortable dialogue. So a little bit about Mr. Acho. After earning his undergraduate degree in sports management in 2012, Emmanuel was drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He was then traded to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2013, where he spent most of his NFL career. While in the NFL, Emmanuel spent off seasons at the University of Texas, his alma mater, to earn his master's degree in sports psychology. In 2016, Emmanuel left the football field and picked up a microphone to begin his broadcast career. In 2018, Emmanuel was promoted within ESPN, where he served as the youngest national football analyst and was named a 2018 Forbes 30 Under 30 selection. In 2017, he and his family's nonprofit organization, Living Hope Christian Ministries, raised enough funds to build a hospital in rural Nigeria. I'm so excited about this interview, guys. Emmanuel's doing really big things, so let's get right to it. Emmanuel Acho, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the show, bro. Thanks for being on today. How are you, my man?
Man, I am booked and busy, but life is good, dude. Between transitioning to a new job, moving to LA in 2 days, shooting episode 3 of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man here in a few hours. Life is busy, but life is good.
That is absolutely amazing. I just want to give you major props, man, and congratulations for using your platform just to educate and support such an amazing cause. I know I speak for many people when I say thank you so much for what you're doing. It's truly amazing.
Man, it's been crazy to see the reaction. It's been crazy to see the response. I know we're going to get into a lot of it later, but it's been crazy to see that hearts are finally ready to turn. Ears are not only open, but they're listening. Bro, it's been, I'm hopeful for the world that we live in because of the response to the videos I made.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Acho basically created Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. Now, just so they know, how many views has this gotten on YouTube? This is insane.
Overall on social media, we have 32 million views across the first 2 episodes.
32 million views.
Yeah, man, which is the size of some small countries.
That is insane. So talk to me about how this show got started. What was the thought process? Take me behind the scenes on how this was created.
So for those that don't know, your wife, Rachel, was a very integral part of the inception. I realized I have to be a bridge between Black people and white people. I grew up in white culture. I grew up in an all-white private high school in Texas, but then I played in the NFL. I played ball in college. So I'm fully versed in Black culture, but I'm also fully versed in white culture. I understand the pain of my Black friends and brothers and sisters, but I understand the ignorance of my white friends. And I said, I need to act as a bridge to mend the divide between the two. I reached out to Rachel. I reached out to several others because I wanted to start a panel. I wanted to call it initially Questions White People Have and start a discussion, a panel. But I mean, between y'all being in Miami, me being in Austin, others being in Dallas, it was going to take too long, B. It was going to take too long. And so I said, I got to act now. I reached out to a friend. She was going to drive in from Dallas. We were going to do the first episode, her and I, a white colleague of mine. At the last second, she just couldn't do it. She backed out. So, she was just like, hey, this isn't right. These aren't the right questions. Nobody's going to listen to me. I don't want to call it cold feet because I can't speak for her. But for one another, she chose not to do it. And I said, I'll do it myself. It was one take, Brian. Literally one take, the first episode, which now has over 25 million views. I looked down. I said, 3, 2. I looked up into the eyes of the camera. And 9 minutes, 27 seconds later, lives were changed.
And you killed it, man. I mean, the background, the white background, just you sitting there on the stool. It's you were just so candid and honest. I mean, it was refreshing to see. I don't think nobody's put out a video like that. So again, major props. So getting into a couple of the questions that I have for you today. obviously it's a tough topic to talk about, but this is why we're here now. Sticking with the younger generation, nobody is born a racist, but rather this is learned behavior, right? So I want to talk about the future, the kids. Like, what's your advice to parents out there that are raising kids on the approach that children should take with race, or how are parents teaching these kids about race?
Exposure, and exposure. It's not enough to say don't see color. You need to see color. You need to identify color, because color is synonymous with culture. And while cultures may be different, they each should be esteemed and they should each hold a significant value. You're okay to have preferences. You just should not value something is higher or worth less than the other thing. I speak on exposure because I'll give this example, B. I was first generation American. My parents were born in Nigeria, so we didn't grow up with any dogs. And in America, my sister got attacked by a dog when she was younger. So now as a 29-year-old man, I can't decipher between a dog that is a threat and a dog that's a fluffy animal, a furry animal. I suppose and propose that that's the same thing in our society. White people who grow up without any Black exposure experience, they can't decipher between a Black man who's a threat and a Black man who's just Black. Black people who grow up with any white exposure, white experience, although that's significantly harder, they can't decipher between a white person who's a racist and a white person who's just white or racially ignorant. We have to expose our children. If you grow up in your white cul-de-sac within your white neighborhood and you go to your white church next to your white grocery store, funded by your white schools, you're going to grow up extremely white. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with that in an incubated sense, we don't live in a white world. You live in a world with so many different colors, ethnicities, races, religions around you, and we have to be more familiar with that, B. So if I was teaching my kids, I would expose them, because more is caught than is taught.
Yeah, no. And I love what you said, because I see so many people saying on social media, like, I don't see color. I don't see color. And like what you said, like, no, see color, like embrace it, love it, educate yourself and just, unify yourself with them. So love what you said on that. So sticking with the younger generation theme, as I know, because I went through school, as I went through grade schools, I went through middle school, high school, college, Black history is pretty much non-existent in these textbooks. Like, how much of an impact do you feel that, if these textbooks, for the first time really dedicated themselves to teaching others about Black history, how do you feel, what kind of an impact do you think that would have?
Remember, there's a difference between an autobiography and a biography.
Yeah.
There's a difference between an autobiography where you were the author writing your own story and a biography where somebody else is writing a story about you. American is an autobiography. And an autobiography will always favor the main character because it's written by the main character. And so they will not speak so much of their flaws, of their errors, and of their shortcomings. American history books are the same way. It's white people writing about white history. And so that's how you can omit the Tulsa Race Massacre, where in 1921, Black Wall Street was evaporated and lit on fire by white people who were envious and jealous of the success of Black people. It wasn't until February of this year that the state of Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken, mandated that the Tulsa Race riots be talked about in history in Oklahoma. Wow. How can you not have a conversation? And so the fact is, we don't tell the whole story of American history. And I'll say this, history is meant to be remembered, but it's not always meant to be celebrated. And so we have to do a better job of looking at both sides of the coin when we talk about American history.
Correct. And I don't know if you saw, Russell Westbrook is coming out with a documentary on the Tulsa Massacre. Yeah, and he teamed up with somebody else. So I'm actually looking really forward to that. So answer me this: how can non-Blacks become more aware of their unconscious prejudices? Yeah. How can they do that?
One, you have to have a conversation like this. You have to be willing to listen to people like me who look like me, who will speak with sincerity from a pure heart. And I think you have to realize, B, if you're a kid, go through life and you're not wearing glasses, you think your life is normal and your vantage point and your perspective is fine because you've never had glasses.
Yeah.
But then you put on glasses and you realize, oh, there's so many more dimensions and depth and color to life when you put your glasses on because your sight has been limited. Yeah. I suppose and propose that's the same thing with my white brothers and sisters is they're going through life not realizing they need glasses. And it's not to say that they're blind. It's just to say that their sight is limited. That's how you can go through life not realizing, oh, there's a problem with going to a school called Thomas Jefferson High School and making Black kids go to a school named after a person who would have enslaved, oppressed, ripped their family apart en route to killing them. You would never ask a Jewish person to go to Adolf Hitler High. Yeah, yet we would ask Black people to go to Thomas Jefferson High School. So how can you as a white person become more aware? By listening and thinking and putting on your glasses to allow you to see the full dimensions of the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I saw episode 2, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. You had on the great Matthew McConaughey, former Longhorn and a huge Longhorn fan. And you guys talked about stereotypes. I believe you called them white allergies.
Yeah, white allergies.
Explain to the audience how stereotyping can lead to racism.
Really good question. So stereotypes garner the name stereotypes because they are, in fact, to a degree true, right? If you look at some stereotypes, Asians are good at math. Well, based on the language in several different Asian countries, it's easy to process numbers just based on their vernacular, which allows them to be better at math. Black people, their average center of gravity, their center of mass is 3% higher than a white person, which allows a Black to be able to run faster anatomically. A white person, they're able to swim faster anatomically speaking, generally speaking. So some stereotypes, in fact, are true just based off anatomics and just based off geography. Now, or anatomy rather, and based off geography. Now, with that being said, stereotypes become racist when you start to imply negative connotations because of general speaking. So stereotypes become racist when you start to think negatively body based on a stereotype. Remember, racism, it intrinsically implies oppression because of power. So racism isn't just the thought of a color. Like that doesn't make something racist. Racism, it shows itself when power and oppression are in play. So stereotypes are a problem and become problematic when oppression becomes into play due to power. That's why there's not really such a thing as reverse racism, because Black people don't have power.
Yeah.
That's just to answer that question too, a quick aside.
So how can mixed or multicultural people play a role in these types of discussions about racism?
They play the biggest role. Because I was talking to my homeboy, plays in the NFL. He's mixed. His mom is white. His dad is Black. Spent 30 minutes on the phone. He was like, man, I feel like an outsider. Like I don't really know where I fit in. And I said, in all honesty, bro, you fit in exactly where I fit in as a mediator, because you may not have been oppressed because you don't truly read based on your skin color as Black. However, you grew up with white people and you also grew up with Black people. So you should be a beautiful mediator and bridging the gap. There's so many people, who have so much pain and anguish in their heart due to years of oppression and slavery that they can't communicate. And so as the mixed people, I think, play the biggest role because they can bridge the gap.
Absolutely. So some people see racism as solely a Black and white issue. What role can somebody like me play in bringing about racial unity? Even if I don't identify as Black or white, I identify as, yes, my skin is white, but I identify as Hispanic or Latino.
That's a good question. I haven't gotten that one before. I think that ultimately equality is equality. Fairness is fairness. It's almost as if my old producer at ESPN, she would always tell me, you shouldn't have to use a phrase like, imagine this was your mom or your sister or your cousin. Imagine it was a human being.
Of course.
Right? Like you shouldn't have to picture a loved one being oppressed or assaulted or murdered to like feel
Yeah.
And
like
in the
just
same
part
breath,
of your humanity. You know what I mean? Like you gotta, whoever doesn't feel that, doesn't have a heart. Whoever saw George Floyd on the ground and, didn't feel, their heart drop. Something's wrong with that person.
Exactly. And so I think, what role can you or someone like you play? It's very simple. It's what role can any human with compassion play? What role can any human who wants to move our world forward play? What role can any human who desires a level playing field in society play? And I think that you have to look at yourself in the mirror and your own personal convictions. What do I stand for? What am I willing to fight for? And fight for that. You ain't got to be black. Just like white people don't have to be black to fight for equality. White people just have to be honest and fair.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I got for you, man. I just want to know, I know you're a busy man. You got big things coming up. I don't want to put your business out there. Is there anything you could tell us about what's coming up? Drop your social handles so people could follow you if they're not already. Yeah, man, talk to us.
Man, I got several episodes coming up. Episode 3 will drop Wednesday, June 17th. People will love that. I can't reveal the guests yet. Just know it's going to be a family. I have a future episode coming up. I want to get into interracial couples. I want to get into that aspect of things. It's only been 53 years since white people and black people were allowed to be married. So a lot of good and challenging topics come up. A lot of questions I'm going to answer that I'm sure any listener will have. And they will drop on my social handles. My Instagram is at @theManAcho, ACHO, and that's the same thing as my Twitter. They'll also drop on my Facebook and YouTube. Just search my name. And the conversations are going to keep rolling, and there's a lot of education to be had.
Absolutely. And Rachel and I will volunteer for that interracial segment. So just let us know. We got you, bro. All right, man. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody follow this man. He's doing big things. Just keep an eye out for him. It's going to be great. All right, Acho. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
My brother, salute.
All right, man. Take care.